Hello everyone, my name is Pratik and today I am going to give you a demo on Keylogger. Now what is a Keylogger? Keylogger is a program that records keys pressed on the keyboard. Hackers use Keylogger as it can be used to see what the victim is typing on the keyboard. That may include sensitive or insensitive data such as chat messages, email, password, bank account number, etc. So basically, whatever the victim types on the keyboard, all of those can be recorded and can be logged. Now, keyloggers are of two types, mainly local keyloggers and remote keyloggers. Local keyloggers are such where whenever anything entered in the keyboard are stored in a specific location in memory locally within the system, and remote keyloggers are such where the entered keys can be accessed remotely. It can also be sent via mail in the form of a report. The attackers mainly rely on remote keyloggers such that the victim, when executes it, it will be keep on sending them the reports in the form of an email. The remote keylogger that I have used here is created using Python, and in Python the library that is used here is PyInput. What it does is it records whatever is typed from the keyboard. Along with that, threading concept of Python is also used here, and SMTP library of Python is imported to use the email functionality in Python and send the log over email. The keylogger code, whatever that I have written, is converted into a .exe file which one clicked by the victim will execute it, and once it is started it will keep on recording the values written in the keyboard, or the values captured from the keyboard typed at a regular interval. Now this interval can be programmed based on the attacker's wish, and what it does is that it will keep on sending the logs at a regular updates via email. It will keep on doing this unless it is killed from the victim system. Now for example, let's say the victim system is in Windows, then we can go to the command prompt and we can write task kill, the name of the exe file, have it kill the process. Let me show you the .exe file that is created here. So consider this particular exe file has somehow reached the victim's machine by the attacker through various ways of reconnaissance, or you can say payload delivery, like for example using social engineering or using steganography or using phishing, or in any way the .exe file is sent to the victim's machine. So considering this as the victim's machine, and consider this email here is opened in the attacker's machine, and who is waiting for the keylogger's records to be emailed. Now once the victim knowingly or unknowingly clicks on this particular exe file, the attacker immediately gets a mail that keylogger has started. Okay, now the keylogger is activated in the victim's machine. The victim now goes to facebook.com for example and enters the email ID here, let's say Pratik user, and enters the password here and clicks on the login button. Of course I have given here the incorrect username and password. It is only just to give you a demo on what happens here. So the moment this is done from the victim's machine, the attacker will start receiving the mails at a regular interval. Here it is set as 1 minute, so after 1 minute the attacker will receive the email. Okay, you can see the email has come at 1:09. After 1:08 p.m. it has come as 1:09, and when you click on this you can see that the victim typed facebook.com in a particular browser. The victim has entered Pratik, then the victim has used the underscore here, so the victim has taken the help of shift and the underscore button to enter the underscore here, so that's why it has come up as this. And then after the victim has clicked on the tab key, so what happens is it will go from user tab to the password tab, and the attacker can assume or guess that this must be the password. By this way the information is stored from the victim's machine to the attacker. And you can see again at 1:10 one more email has come up. So as long as the victim is entering the strokes here from the keyboard, the attacker will keep on getting emails. Now when the victims from the victim's machine, if that particular task is killed, so if we want to kill this, so I can write it from here, I will be forcefully closing that task. So I'm closing this, so you can see it has closed, and now the attacker will no longer receive the email. That's all for the demo. Now let's deep dive into the code that I have written here to create this particular keylogger. In order for you to understand the code, what I have used here is Spider, which is a Python IDE, and I'm starting with a very basic keylogger code here. Like I was saying, I have used the help of PyInput library, and that is what I have imported here. If you can see here, it is imported, and of PyInput we are mainly focusing on the keyboard part, so that's why the import is done pyinput.keyboard. Now PyInput has a class called as keyboard, and within this class we have a method called as listener. In listener, what we are doing is we are simply keeping a tab, or we are just recording whatever is pressed on the keyboard. So on press is a function here. What it does is whenever any particular keyboard button is clicked, it will just record it, and I've written it in the form of a method. So what I'm doing is whenever any key is getting pressed, what it will do is it will just print that one. Okay, and this particular method, when it is executed, it will return a value, and that value is stored in this variable keyboard listener. And on every keyboard listener I am just doing a join on this. Okay, to show you how it is working, I will run this particular code. So I will go to the location where it is present. What I will do is I will save this one. Let me save this here. I'm saving this, and let me bring that particular code. Okay, and from here I will try to run this code. So I'm just calling the command from here. To run a Python code, we can write python.exe and then the py file. Here it is keylogger.py. So I hit enter, and now it is getting executed. The keylogger is running right now. I mean the Python code is running right now. Now if we go and type something, let's say google.com. The moment we do this, you can see all of those values are getting displayed here, right? And to show you better, let me show you in this way. If I type here, you just notice this, just notice here and notice the notepad. I'm keeping it side by side for a comparison. So you can see the moment I start writing here, notice this notepad plus this. You can see whatever I am writing, all of those along with the keyboard like space, shift, the plus symbol, all of these are getting stored here. Now this is a very simple code that is written. We will work on how to enhance it further. From keyboard py, let me go to the keyboard, the enhanced version of this code. So here it contains a lot of things, but I will try to explain you some part of it. So what we are doing is, we can see that what we saw is, let me show you once again. Now the keylogger is running. I type anything here and it just keeps on displaying here, right? But the thing is that we want to implement something called as a timer. So what it will do is it will keep on checking at a regular interval of time what the user is typing. So instead of printing like this, which would be not much user friendly for the attacker, so what we will do here is that we will use something called as a timer. Now let's say it checks every 5 seconds. So what will happen is, let's say I'm typing this. Now instead of immediately displaying here, this console will wait for 5 seconds, and after 5 seconds again it will wait for 5 seconds. Now within this 5 seconds, whatever is written, those will get printed here. It will wait for next 5 seconds, and whatever values is entered via the keyboard by the victim, it will keep on getting printed here. Now what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to log something, to log the file. What I mean by that is, so instead of printing, let's say the attacker wants to create a log file or something, a file where the attacker can store what the user is writing. Okay, so that's why this particular method called as report is written here. There are two things that you have to see. The first thing is this threading.timer. So threading is another library in Python which we have imported here, and in threading we have a class called as timer, wherein we are giving a interval, we're passing interval as a variable, and there is something called as report. Now the interval is something which we can set based on which the logger will check. For example, if we give 5 seconds, then what will happen, in every 5 seconds the logger will check what further keystrokes are entered by the keyboard. Okay, there is something called as send mail here. So for send mail we have another library called as SMTP library. We just import it here, and in send mail what we are doing is we are taking the Gmail server here. Gmail has this common port 587 where Google allows the user to use Google server to send emails. Okay, and the port here is 587. So we enter this port and you can just send emails using Python by this method. So I'm calling this method here, and there is one more thing which is happening here is self.log. So what is happening is, like I was saying, whatever the victim is typing, so like I was discussing in here, on press equals to process key press. So here also the same thing is happening. The process key press method is getting called here, and in here what we are doing is we are just appending that value. Okay, appending that value to a log here. So what it is doing, whatever value I'm entering, we have created one variable here, log, and in this log I'm just appending that value. So instead of printing in every time in new line, it will print as a statement in a single line. Okay, and in here whatever is getting printed, I'm just appending that to the mail body. The attacker will get this particular value in the form of a mailer. Now this particular method I have written as a class. The advantage is that we will be just calling this class. So I am importing that class here, and here method keylogger. So this 30 actually denotes that particular interval. So here 30 means every 30 seconds our keylogger will check what new methods are entered here. This is the email ID, the attacker's email ID, and the password. And once we write this, everything is written. We can execute this zlogger.py. So let me show you that part. cmd.exe, I'm here. Now I'll write python.exe zlogger.py. I'll run this. So it is running right now, and you will see that the moment this is started, the attacker has got the mail keylogger started. Okay, now where this particular keylogger was written, it was written here. So whenever the constructor is initiated, whenever the class is called, so the moment the class is called, the constructor is initiated, and the first line of the constructor is keylogger started, and the same thing is what the attacker is getting in the mail. Okay, now see, every 30 seconds the attacker will receive the mail. So the keylogger is running right now. Let me go to notepad and let me type something. Okay, hello world, am I getting recorded? Now if we come here, yeah, so you can see the attacker has received this mail, and in this everything is written. World key shift was done, and am I getting recorded. So all the keystrokes whatever the victim is entered, all of those got recorded and it was sent to the attacker's Gmail. Now if you close this program, then it stopped. Okay, now the thing is that we don't want the victim to know that some suspicious code is running, right? So what I mean by saying is that if we run this by the help of a command prompt, so a console opens here, correct? The victim can very easily see that and identify that a suspicious code, so a Python code is running in her or his systems. To avoid that, what we do is we take the help of something called as PyInstaller. So let me go to command prompt. Okay, I will open the command prompt from here. PyInstaller, this is another tool of Python which is in the form of a library. So you will write PyInstaller and you will write the Python file, mention the Python file for which you want to create a .exe. Okay, to do that let me show you. So let's say let me write zlogger.py and I'll be mentioning it as one file. Alright, and I'll be mentioning one more thing called as no console. I do this and what it does, it creates a .exe file for us, and this .exe file is actually present inside the distributed folder. So a .exe file gets created in the distributed. Now this, when I try to execute, if I click on this, you will see that the hover button over the mouse is happening but no console is coming up, and in the back end what is happening, that the keylogger is running, but they won't be able to see that console file. Okay, but in the backend, since it is running, you will see that the attacker has received an email that keylogger has started. Okay, now let's say the victim has started browsing over the browser, or let's say typing in a document or whatever, wherever the keyboard is used. So let's linkedin.com. okay, LinkedIn, and I'm entering some value here. Entering some password here. Click on sign in. Obviously I've entered a wrong one here. Now if we go and check the email, you can see that the values are captured here, and from here the attacker can make a guess that Pratik user may be the user ID and password may be this value. This is how the keylogger works.